On this episode of This Week in Linux, we take a look at a few distros that were released with Fedora 31, MX Linux 19, and Tails 4.0. GNOME files a counterclaim against the patent troll that is suing over Shotwell, and we'll take a look at the NordVPN hack that was recently revealed. Mozilla released Firefox 70, UBports released their latest version of Ubuntu Touch with OTA 11, and Pine64 has launched their new pre-order window for the Pinebook Pro. And this particular pre-order window also has the option for not only just a EU keyboard layout like the first batch, but an additional US layout for those who like to use that. Canonical has a new Ubuntu desktop director moving forward, so 2004 LTS will certainly be something worth checking out. Humble Bundle launched a very cool book bundle for learning about Linux and BSD. And in Linux gaming news, Valve released a new version of the Steam client library, and their new Remote Play Together tool is now available. Well, I think it's an experimental still, but it's available to try out. All that and much more coming up. I'm Michael Tunnell with Tux Digital, and this is your weekly source for Linux good news. This episode of This Week in Linux is sponsored by DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean offers the simplest, most developer-friendly cloud platform. It's optimized to make managing and scaling apps easy with an intuitive API, multiple storage options, load balancers, integrated firewalls, and more. You can get all this plus access to their world-class customer support for as low as $5 per month. DigitalOcean also has 2,000 cloud-agnostic tutorials to help you stay up to date with the latest open source, software, languages, and frameworks. You can get started on DigitalOcean for 1 month for free with a $50 credit by going to do.co/tux. That's do.co/tux. And we use this on This Week in Linux. We use the DigitalOcean droplets on for many things, especially specifically for the Destination Linux network. We have the Mumble server and the Discourse forum and many more things that we're using with DigitalOcean. So we're actually promoting them on this podcast because it's so good. We like them so much. We wanted to, share them with you. So if you want to get started on DigitalOcean, you can do that with a $50 credit by going to do.co/tux. And thanks again for DigitalOcean for sponsoring This Week in Linux. Up first in the show this week, Fedora 31 has been released, as well as all of its official flavors. And you can also see that the latest version of Fedora 31 that they have updated to GNOME 3.34, and with all kinds of enhancements that it comes with that, with better performance. They've actually fixed some bug fixes and all kinds of stuff. They've refreshed the background chooser. They now have Firefox running natively on Wayland. They've added custom application folders. This is a GNOME thing specifically, where you can make it. It's a lot easier to set up folders inside it, so you can there's always the default folder system that you can see in most application menus in various different DEs. You can create your own custom folders really easily just by dragging and dropping now in GNOME Shell, so that's pretty cool. They dropped 32-bit support for bootable images, but they kept 32-bit support for Steam and Wine applications as well as other libraries. So there's a lot of people who have, you may remember the Ubuntu situation with 32-bit, where they were going to drop 32-bit entirely, which was a big mistake, and it was a big outcry. And there's some people on Twitter asking about why there's no outcry for Fedora doing it, and it's because Fedora is not doing that part. They're not dropping the whole thing. They're just dropping the ISOs and a significant portion of the 32-bit, but not all of the core libraries, which is the important piece. They've updated the kernel to 5.3.7 and Mesa to 19.2, and made a lot of other changes. One of the things is that a quote from Fedora Magazine specifically says that the Docker package has been removed from Fedora 31, has been replaced by the upstream package Moby engine, which includes the Docker CLI as well as the Docker engine. So in theory, it should still support Docker. It's just not going to be focused on Docker and using the exact same structure. But they also recommend that you instead use Podman and Buildah instead of Docker for whatever particular reason. I'm not really sure, because I've used Docker in many cases. We currently use Docker on some stuff for the Destination Linux network, but as far as super in depth, I'm not that much in depth to know the difference between why Podman and Buildah is more recommended by Fedora and Red Hat versus Docker. But if you know anything about that, please let me know in the comments below, and we might retouch it on a next episode or a future episode, or maybe even a next episode of Destination Linux or something like that. So be sure to let me know in the comments below. They're also switching RPM compression to ZTSD and which this decreases the amount of compression time needed and improves the overall performance of processes using binary RPMs. And I think, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that ZTSD is made by Facebook. I could be wrong on that. I'm going to check after I record this just to make sure. And if it is my Facebook, I'll leave this portion in. And also overall, they've been a lot of bug fixes and improvements for performance overall for the distribution. So if you'd like to check it out, you can find a link to Fedora 31 release notes in the show notes below. Up next in the show, GNOME has counterclaimed against patent troll, the Rothschild or whatever. So some people have commented in the comments about how I'm mispronouncing the Rothschild thing, but I don't really have a problem with mispronouncing a patent troll's name. So I'm just going to keep going with that. Anyway, so there's nothing more empowering than standing up to bullies, and a patent troll is fundamentally its only purpose is bullying people into fear, into giving them money through legal battles and that kind of thing. So it's really cool to see that GNOME is standing against them right now, because GNOME came out and said that Rothschild said they would settle for a large 5-figure amount, and that GNOME could continue to use the patent if they settled. And they said that that's the easy way out, so they're not going to do that. And they see there's a bigger picture here and decided to fight against it with their own counterclaim. And if you want to know more about the details, I'll have a link in the show notes for the announcement page for the announcement that they are doing a counterclaim. So you want to get the nitty gritty about it. But this patent in question is it's pretty ridiculous, because it's essentially a thing about if you have a device that has content that you want to plug into another device and get the data from that one to the other, basically computing in general. It's that somehow they have a patent over that. It's the US patent law is just insane in that sense. Actually, there shouldn't be any software patents whatsoever. There's no real purpose in that. Innovation in software, copyrighting code is one thing, but patenting an idea of software is just insane. But anyway, so they actually started doing a funding, this thing is called Give Lively Fund, to pay for the battle for the counterclaim against the patent troll, and they requested $125,000. And what's awesome is the community knows this is important. There's a lot of people talking about it, podcasts, YouTubers. Everybody's been pointing out that this is something that will benefit in a heavy, that, it'll show that patent trolls, if they try to attack the open source software community, that we're not going to stand by and just let that happen. So we've actually already beyond the 125,000. I think it's 132,000 or something like that now. But this is awesome, because it means that the first initial wave of cost is covered now. And that doesn't mean it's the entire cost will be this. So if you still want to give to the fund, you can do so. But because there's really no way to know exactly how long it will take or how long it will cost because of that, because they pay for lawyers and court costs and all that kind of stuff. So, but anyway, it's really awesome that the community banded together to raise the funds to get the 125,000 that were necessary to at least fight it initially. So that is awesome. And on the behalf of, that's weird. I don't know if I can be behalf of the community, but on behalf of myself and people in the Destination Linux Network, I can definitely say thank you very much for everybody who's contributed to the GNOME Foundation Fund to battle this patent troll, because it is very important, and we need to make sure that the patent trolls know that they're not going to easily get away with this kind of crap with us. Up next in the show is Tails 4.0 has been released. And Tails, if you're not aware, is an acronym for the Amnesic Incognito Live System. This is a Linux distribution that is designed to not really store anything and be as incognito as possible and made as anonymous as possible. It has the Tor browser installed. It has Onion Share and some other things that are doing its best to kind of facilitate that thing. But this latest version of 4.0 has been released, and it is updated to Debian 10, which is Debian Buster. This is the first version of Tails using Debian 10. But they've also updated many different packages, including the Onion Share and Tor browser that I mentioned previously. They've also replaced KeePassX with KeePassXC because it's being more maintained. And they've also improved various aspects of usability for Tails Greeter, which is the, when you first get into the system, it kind of like greets you, and it shows different improvements for, especially for non-English users, for finding different whatever make it easier to choose whatever language you want to use. But they've also done a lot of performance and usability improvements, and making Tails 4.0 start 20% faster. It now requires 250 megabytes less of RAM, and is actually 47 megabytes smaller to download than a previous version. Even with all these different changes, they've even made it smaller. So they've also added support for Thunderbolt devices and made the on-screen keyboard easier to use, and also a lot cleaner to use as well. So if you like to check out Tails, if you're interested in checking out an anonymous, incognito style distro, then Tails 4.0 is definitely worth checking out, and I'll have a link to it in the show notes below. Up next in the show is MX Linux 19. They've released this one recently, and this has a lot of updates to a variety of different things. They got the latest version of Debian Buster with 10.1, and they've also updated the XFCE desktop environment, which is the official DE that they ship with. They've updated that to 4.14, which is the latest version of XFCE, which is also fairly recently released. So there's a lot. You can check out the episode we covered on this show with XFCE 4.14 if you'd like to learn more about that particular thing. They've also updated many programs like Mesa, Debian kernel. They've updated to 4.19 kernel. They've updated Firefox, video players, and many more things. And they've also have a lot of their own custom apps that they have, like the MX Installer, which is based on Gazelle, and now has the fixes for auto mounting and partitioning. They've made improvements for the MX Package Installer, MX Updater, all kinds of different things, even their own MX boot repair system. So if you want to check out a Debian-based distribution that has a really nice polish, MX Linux is fantastic, and you should definitely check it out. They've done a lot of customizations and polish, and I think it is one of the better Debian, like direct Debian derivatives available, especially for the people who like XFCE, because they have a really nice layout for that one too, and especially all the custom stuff that they did. But if you'd like to learn more about MX Linux, you can check the link in the show notes, but also the latest episode of Destination Linux, which is episode 146, I believe. Yeah, 146. This has an interview with Dolphin Oracle from the MX Linux team when we talk about the latest features and latest improvements and all this other stuff about MX Linux as a whole, but also MX Linux 19 specifically. So if you want to learn more about that, you need to definitely check out episode 146 of Destination Linux, which is technically not out yet as I release this episode, but it will be out very, very soon after. So I'll have a link to it in the show notes anyway, and at some point that link will work. Fairly soon, probably tomorrow or something, but whatever. Up next in the show is the latest pre-order window for the Pinebook Pro, and that is right now. So if you'd like to go get a Pinebook Pro, they're available to pre-order for $199, and you get a 1080p IPS display, 4 gigs of RAM, Rockchip ARM processor. It's crazy hardware for the price. So if you are interested in checking it out, we'll have a link in the show notes. But to be clear about some couple things, there are some new things with this latest version versus the previous batch, and that is they've added a ANSI keyboard available that is available in this particular batch. So if you are in the US or you like the US layout for keyboards, check out when you check out, be sure to check the ANSI option, because the ANSI keyboard is the one that is more US centric, whereas the ISO keyboard is for EU and UK and that kind of thing. So also worth noting that if you do decide to choose the ANSI version, you'll have a slight later delivery date. So the ISO keyboard is those versions will be built first, and then the ANSI portion of the batch will be built after that. So if you choose the ISO keyboard, it'll be early December when the deliveries start happening, and for the ANSI keyboards, it'll be mid-December. So it'll still like a couple weeks later, but it'll still happen in December. So if you want to check out either one, it will be available for you if you do want to get that. And I have a Pinebook Pro on the way. Pretty sure it's going to be an ISO keyboard, which is fine. I'm actually not really bothered by that. I would prefer an ANSI keyboard because I am from the US, but it doesn't really bother me either way, because I already have a Pinebook original. It has an ANSI keyboard, but I think that the keyboard difference layout it's so minimal, it won't really bother me that much. But yeah, anyway, so I look forward to trying out the keyboard either way. So because it's it might be interesting to try out a UK or EU style keyboard that I have tried in a long time ago, but it's been a very long time. So I don't think it's been too long for me to remember, but I do remember the weird size enter key. So yeah. Anyway, if you want to check it out, I have a link in the show notes for the Pinebook Pro pre-order option, but also I have a link in the show notes for a unboxing video that Das Geek Ryan of Destination Linux did recently, actually yesterday, and I helped him with it, doing like producing stuff. I don't really know what to call it, but I helped him do the live stream of the unboxing. So it was really cool because we got a lot of information, and Lucas from Pine64 showed up in the live chat to answer questions from the chat as well as questions from us while we were doing the unboxing. So that was really awesome. So be sure to check that out. I have a link to that in the show notes, as well as another link to the Destination Linux episode 145, where Lucas joined us for an interview. So be sure to check that out because lots of good content, and I'm really excited for the Pinebook Pro, and I can't wait to try out mine whenever it gets here. And then when it does, I'll make a video of my own, like doing a review, and I'll probably do like a review of comparison between the Pinebook Original and the Pinebook Pro and all that kind of stuff. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, if you're interested in that kind of thing. Up next in the show is the latest release from UBports, which is Ubuntu Touch OTA 11. And this has a lot of updates, even though they didn't really plan for that. This was meant to be a small bug fix update, but they've actually done quite a few things that kind of merits more discussion. So first of all, probably the biggest thing is that they improved the keyboard drastically. So the keyboard was one of those things that kind of bothered me with because it was kind of bare bones in the previous versions that I used. And the latest version I haven't tried yet, but I look forward to it because it was one of the things that bothered me in the past. But they've done a lot of stuff. They've improved a lot of things. And some of these things are not even available in most keyboards on Android. So that's awesome. So one of the things you can do is move around your text that you've typed, like with arrow key type approach. You can also do that with text selection as well, with like a text selection rectangle. You can do cut, copy, paste, and cut, and all that kind of stuff all from the single overlay. All of these things from one overlay. But one of the things that is super rare in most keyboards or most phones in general is the ability to undo and redo actions. And Ubuntu Touch OTA 11 has included that, which is awesome. So if you want to get to this option, this overlay menu, all you do is press the space bar and hold it down for a little bit until it pops up, and then you can use all these different features. So pretty cool. They've also done some updates to the Morph browser, which is their Qt-based Qt web engine browser. And this has improvements to page zoom level is now saved per site rather than per tab, so it's more consistent later on. Users may set always allow or always deny on location access per site, which is nice. I would kind of like put always deny pretty much every time. So if you could do that, that'd be cool too. But sites may launch other apps via custom URL handlers, such as tel:// for opening your phone to have like a pre-filled number dialed. So that's pretty cool because they're making it more integration features. Because one of the best things about Ubuntu Touch is its security system with the container system. It was really cool, and it's very important to have the security, but also kind of has a little bit of integration issues because of that. And I'm really happy to see that they've improved it there to add some more integration in there. So really awesome. They've also removed the account requirement for clients and the servers to get the full access to the notification system, because originally Canonical was the ones making Ubuntu Touch, naturally because the whole Ubuntu name, but they were making Ubuntu Touch, and in order to get notifications, you had to use the Ubuntu One servers and have an account on Ubuntu One in order to get notifications. Because, well, I don't really know why you would have to do that for notifications. It's really weird, but they did that at the same time they were making it where you had to get an Ubuntu One account in order to get apps installed. So now that you don't need to do you really don't need Ubuntu One for anything. The only thing that was still available, still using it, was the notification system. So you could still get notifications in general. It's just some things wouldn't be able to do it and some things would. Now, because they've removed the dependency of Ubuntu One, you can now get notifications for pretty much any application that uses that system of notifications. So that's really cool. And they've also done a lot of bug fixes and performance improvements, as well as they've announced recently that they have support for OnePlus 3 and the Sony Xperia X phones for Ubuntu Touch to make it really easy for installing to those phones. I think it also supports the OnePlus 3T, but I can't really guarantee that one. But definitely the OnePlus 3, so that's pretty cool. Because I have a OnePlus 1, and it's pretty dated, so definitely the OnePlus 3 would be a much improved option for those who are looking to get into Ubuntu Touch. So yeah, if you'd like to learn more about Ubuntu Touch OTA 11, you can check out the links in the show notes below. Up next in the show, I just want to take a brief moment to let you know about some certain things about the show as well as the network. So first of all, there is an audio feed that allows you to download an MP3 from an RSS feed, or you can do it from your favorite podcast app. You can take the RSS feed that's on the website at tuxdigital.com/thisweekinlinux, or you can just search for it in your podcast app. It will probably be there. It might not be, depending on what you use, because I haven't tested literally everything, but I'm pretty sure it's on almost everything because I've tested a lot, and it is available in most of these platforms. Actually, all the ones I tested anyway. If you do find one that's not available, please let me know. I would like to fix that immediately. So you can check out the MP3 feed, and in that you'll also find a segment index attached to the bookmarks or chapter section. So if you're not aware, the segment index is a thing that I call where I have timestamps for each topic that are in the description, or in the podcast apps, it's in the chapter or bookmark section, and you can jump around to different places. Maybe you're interested in one topic more than another. You could go and check that one out first, and then go back to the other ones. Go back. Remember to go back and watch the whole thing. Just whatever order you want, that's fine. But the whole thing. All right. So you can do that by using the segment index that's in the description on YouTube, or you can use it in the podcast app as well. It's also available in the show notes. So specifically, the show notes might be, and I've had some people having comments about how there's not any links in the show notes. However, that's because I didn't really clarify what the show notes meant. And show notes means the website page for the episode and the description in the podcast apps. So you'll see the links in the segment index and everything there, but it's not going to be in the description for the YouTube channel, because it's not a clean place to put that many links and stuff. So instead, there's a link to the show notes page on the tuxdigital.com website, and it has all the links there. So if you seem like it's missing the links, just go there, and that's where they all are. Also, if you'd like to contribute to the show, there are many ways we offer the ability to do that. You can become a patron by going to Patreon or Sponsus and signing up there, which you can go to tuxdigital.com/Patreon or tuxdigital.com/Sponsus to sign up. And you can also support us with affiliate links. So there's an affiliate links section by going to tuxdigital.com/affiliates, and there you'll find links to various different places where you're buying things already and just give a small commission, like Amazon or Humble Bundle or Private Internet Access VPN, that kind of thing. If you wanted to, you could do that, and it'd be very much appreciated. So it's really hard to explain exactly how much important that stuff is, like how much the patrons contribute to the show. Even just $1 a month goes a long way when you have a bunch of people helping out. And it's so amazing to have people willing to give you money to do the content that you want to do. It's just, I don't know. It's awesome. It also makes it possible for me to do the show and devote more time to it, because this show takes anywhere between 20 to 40 hours every week to do. So, and then also when you take into consideration Destination Linux that I also do, there's a lot of stuff to do. So anyway, if you would like to become a patron, I would very much appreciate it. But if you can do so by going to tuxdigital.com/Patreon or tuxdigital.com/Sponsus. And be sure to check out the Destination Linux Network by going to destinationlinux.network. You can find all the content for all the different shows on the network. You can go to the Mumble server and have conversations with me throughout the week, as well as the forum where you can have conversations with all kinds of different people. Hundreds of people are on the forum now. I think there's like 350 people or more And it's only been like a few weeks or so since the forum's been around. So that's quite awesome. You can have all different kinds of conversations about tech, hardware, Linux, software, whatever. It's awesome. So anyway, check it out by going to destinationlinux.network and clicking on the forum link, or click on the community section. You'll see the Mumble link there as well. And one last thing for housekeeping, definitely check out the DLN gaming night that we're going to do. So at the end of this week, we're going to have a gaming night where you can play games with a variety of different creators on the Destination Linux network, including myself, Ryan, Jason, Zebedee Boss, and more. So be sure to check it out, as well as anybody could join us playing the games with us, and we're going to be live streaming the games and that kind of thing. So be sure to check it out. We'll have a link in the show notes we'll have a little forum link listing all the games that we're definitely going to play. We're probably going to play some more than that as well, but we're definitely going to play the ones listed in the forum. So be sure to check it out, and you're going to get more details about like everything that's going to happen and everything. But I'll go ahead and tell you now, but if you want to, just in case you don't have to write it down, you can just go look at the forum thread, which I'll have linked in the show notes below. But we're going to have it on this Saturday, November 9th, and it'll start at 7 p.m. Central European Standard Time. I think that's what it is, CEST. And this is I think that's 7 hours ahead of me, 5 hours or 6 hours ahead of Eastern. Okay, so Eastern time, it would be 1 p.m. Eastern. If you wanted to join in, even if you're in the U.S., you could totally play with them as well. Depending on the ping, there might be some ping issues here and there, but there's that. And also, you can play with us because we're going to do this kind of like handoff system. We're going to do like a relay stream where Jason and Zeb will be streaming for a few hours during that time, and then when they're done, they're going to transition it over to myself and Ryan and etc. And we can have like the European time section, and the next section will be the US time section, and we're going to have like this big gaming night that anybody can join and be a part of, and I think it'll be awesome. We're going to play games like CSGO, Rocket League, Dirt, for example. Probably a few more like Warframe as well, and some many more. We don't really know exactly how many or what exactly, but we will figure it out probably at the time we start streaming. But there will be some listed in the forum thread. So be sure to go to the destinationlinux.network forum and check out, see if you're interested in doing the gaming night, and if so, or if you want to be quicker access, you can just click the link in the show notes, of course. So there's that. Up next in the show is that Canonical has announced that they have a new Ubuntu desktop director, and that is Martin Wimpress. Martin is actually a friend of the show, as well as a friend of Destination Linux, and we've had him on Destination Linux a couple of times. Hopefully we're going to have him back on soon to talk about his new role at Canonical, to talk about being the director of the Ubuntu desktop and seeing like where he thinks that he's going to take the desktop, and maybe we can have like a wish list from the community to suggest some things to Martin, see what happens there. But Martin has done a lot of great stuff throughout the community, whether that's working on Ubuntu Mate, or whether that's helping out in various different other Ubuntu projects, or he used to be an Arch Linux a trusted user as well, so like he was like a maintainer there as well, and he's done quite a few things for Debian recently. So Martin's done a ton of stuff for the community, and so I can't wait to see what happens with this. But Will Cook used to be the director of the Ubuntu desktop, and he's been doing it since 2014. So for the past 5 years, he's done a great job in many ways, facilitating that efforts to make Ubuntu as good as it possibly be. He's actually helped with improving a lot of stuff in terms of GNOME, because GNOME originally had some issues with high DPI, they had performance issues, and Will, along with the rest of the desktop team, has done a lot of stuff to improve GNOME, so that's great for the overall community as well. And but yeah, I like to see what happens with Martin checking into this position, because Will's done a lot, and I think that it was like all the work he's done is great. But I'm very happy to see that the person they replaced it is Martin, because he's done so many things with Snaps, the Raspberry Pis, the GPD Pockets, integrations of various different stuff with Ubuntu Mate, and so many things that I'm pretty excited to see what happens. I know it's not really going to be like Ubuntu Mate is going to take over as the official proper version of Ubuntu. I don't think that's going to happen, but I wouldn't be bothered if it was, because it is a really good version. So anyway, If you want to check out the tweet and as well as the conversation attached to the tweet with Martin and the rest of the team and some, just regular community users, you can find a link to that tweet in the show notes below. And also, be sure to send post a comment or send an email to let us know, or join the DestinationLinux.network forum and give us your suggestions for wish lists, and maybe we could pass them on to Martin to see what he has when we get him onto the show for Destination Linux. Up next in the show is the latest release from Mozilla, and that's Firefox 70, or actually 70.0.1, because they did do a bug fix release fairly quickly after. But this is actually quite a lot of stuff been added to this version. They've added a social tracking protection, which blocks cookies from sites like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and more. And this is actually now a standard in their enhanced tracking protection suite. They've also added Firefox Lockwise, which is a password manager, a much better password manager than their previous versions, because browsers have had password storage for years, but they've always been very bad. They've always been storing it locally in plain text, so it's like not good at all. So as soon as someone has physical access, they can get access to all your passwords if you saved them that way. So this is really cool because now it's a true password manager with encryption-based setups. And they also have the ability to have complex password generation. You can get integration with their breach alert system. You can, much easier keep in sync with using Firefox Sync. You can actually have access to your passwords through Firefox Lockwise on different devices and stuff. So they've done a lot more effort than, pretty much every other browser. Anyway. I prefer Bitwarden, but I think that Firefox Lockwise is a much better option, the old style of how browsers stored passwords, so I'm happy to see that they're doing that. They've also done some updates to the core engine components. They've updated for faster browsing, including faster JavaScript baseline rendering, and always there's improvements and bug fixes and stuff like that for version 70. So I'm not going to go into all those details, but if you'd like to check out the release notes for Firefox 70, I'll have a link to it in the show notes. Up next in the show is some unfortunate news, and for those who are NordVPN subscribers, and that is that NordVPN was hacked quite a while ago. We're just now recently finding out. Great. So, in March 2018, NordVPN had a breach, and they're saying that's not a big breach. They say only maybe 200 people were affected by this breach because there was the only people using that node or whatnot. But they're also saying that even if a hacker could have viewed the traffic while being connected to the server, he could only see what an ordinary ISP would see, but in no way it could be personalized or linked to the particular username or email. And that's somewhat comforting, but not really, because they took forever to explain this and to even admit it happened. So the subscribers who would be affected are the people who were using non-HTTPS web traffic, DNS lookups, and other similar unprotected connections could be known by those attackers. But they're saying that NordVPN is saying it's not a big deal. Don't worry. They're saying that the historical VPN traffic cannot be monitored either. So they're not bothered by this. And you could argue that breaches happen. Sometimes no one's perfect, so mistakes can happen, and therefore a breach can happen, and that kind of thing. But it's also how you handle that situation after the fact, and what you do to show transparency and honesty when something like that happens. NordVPN chose to ignore it completely and never tell anyone until someone else called them out on it. So that's why I'm not really a fan of this situation, and I call it an unfortunate situation if you are a subscriber of Nord. Because in an official statement on the situation, Nord said the servers were rented and based in a data center in Finland, and someone was able to gain control of the Linux-powered box via an unprotected remote management interface provided by the server's owner. It is alleged this interface was effectively kept secret from the VPN provider. Nord is saying that they're implying that they weren't aware that this was there or not. And Nord didn't actually specify the actual data center that is involved, but the data center themselves came out and said, this, by the way, Krea Nova is the data center that is the people who said that they were involved. So that, yes, we can confirm they were our clients, and they had a problem. They had a problem with their security because they did not take care of it themselves. All servers we provide have an ILO or an IDRAC remote access tool, and they were told that this tool was there. They just didn't, they didn't do any hardening on it. They didn't remove the tool because not everybody is going to be using this data center for VPN stuff. So some companies would want a remote access tool to be able to log in and do things, and then also they could harden it to make it more improved. But they didn't do any of that, so they blamed the data center instead. But they are saying that not a lot of stuff has been taken. So they say the attacker gained access to the server by exploiting an insecure remote management system left by the data center provider while we were unaware that such a system existed, even though that company told them that it did exist. And then they later say that, well, we didn't know about a certain user account that was on that tool or whatever. Anyway, they say that the server itself did not contain any user activity logs. None of our applications send user-created credentials for authentication, so usernames and passwords could not have been intercepted either. Once we found out that the incident, we immediately launched a thorough internal audit. We totally checked it ourselves to make sure that we were not at fault. To blame other people is what that's a translation for what that means. Doublespeak basically is what that is. The internal audit. We didn't tell anyone that this happened until we had to, but we totally did check it and make sure our infrastructure is okay. So they say that we double checked that no other server could possibly be exploited this way and started creating a process to move all of our servers to RAM, which is to be completed next year. We have also raised the bar for all data centers we work with. Now, before signing up with them, we make sure that they meet even higher standards. Higher standards of what? I don't know. That's just a quote from the Nord company. They say that before signing up with them, we make sure that they meet even higher standards. So you don't specify what those standards are. So, okay, higher than whatever. But Creanova is not taking the blame for this because they're saying that they told the NordVPN. NordVPN is blaming Creanova rather than just taking responsibility for the situation and letting people know it happened in the first place. The only reason this happened is because there was some kind of a hacker tweeting about it, and Nord was like, yeah, that did kind of happen, but why did it take a year and a half for you to admit that it happened? It kind of makes me think that wasn't there the GDPR had a rule that said that if you had a breach after a certain amount of time, that you were required to basically be transparent about it and tell people. And I think that's right after this period of time. So I'm not really a fan of NordVPN at this point because they're not transparent at all with the issues that they had. And they could have easily gotten brownie points by just saying, hey, we had a mess up. There was some kind of hacking thing and we fixed it and all this other stuff. There's no worry about the things. None of the data was lost and blah, blah, blah. They could have done all that. But instead, they waited until someone had to force them to admit it. And that is a fantastic sign for me to never use their service. So, it's unfortunate, but oh well. On the bright side, there is private internet access VPN. And you can go to tuxdigital.com/PIA to sign up and give a small commission to the Tux Digital channel that, because they know that we sent you to the sign up for them because they have really good services. I've been using them for quite a long time. They have features where they support Linux directly. Various different distros have options. MX Linux, we talked about on Destination Linux that they've actually improved some stuff for the MX Linux, which is cool. There's different applications. So you can have it on your browser. You can have it directly in your network manager. You can have it on your phone. The typical VPN stuff. But what's also really cool about PIA is that they support various different things, various different distributions, various different projects in Linux, as well as they own and run the Freenode IRC server. So they're very much involved in this community. So yeah, if you want to check out a VPN company that also has gone to court proving that they don't keep logs, and is open whenever something happens that they need to tell you about, then you can check out Well, as far as I know anyway. You can check out tuxdigital.com/PIA to sign up for that. No, I didn't add a VPN topic just to plug another VPN that has an affiliate link. I didn't do that on purpose. However, tuxdigital.com/PIA. Up next in the show is a new bundle from the Humble Bundle team, and that is the Linux and BSD Bookshelf Bundle. Now, this has a lot of various different things about Linux and BSD, and also just open source software in general, the guides and here and there. So first of all, they have Your Linux Toolbox, how Linux works, what every super user should know, Linux firewalls, attack detection and response. They also have application books like the Book of Audacity for recording, editing, mixing, and mastering with a free audio editor. Book of GIMP, Book of Inkscape, like definitive guides, and they say the Book of GIMP is the complete guide to nearly everything. And they also have Blender Masterclass, a hands-on guide to modeling, sculpting, materials, and rendering, as well as some other stuff in there that you can check out. Quite a few books. In fact, if you were to buy them all separately, it's like over $720 worth of ebooks. But you can get them for all. You get all of them for just $15 if you get the highest tier. And if you don't need all of those, you can get whatever tier you want. And there's even other bundles that are available right now, like the Game Dev bundle for VR and AR. Also, like Design Like a Designer bundle by the Adams Media, which is like teaching you creative design and that kind of thing for like visual art design and etc. Like web design as well too in there. So if you're interested in any of these bundles, I actually have there was probably a couple more bundles in the links below just because there are a few of them that we've talked about in previous episodes that are still available if you want to check it out. So I have a link to those as well. But yeah. This is a pretty cool bundle, and if you're interested, please check it out and use that link in the show notes for purchasing it, because it will give a small commission to Tux Digital and this Week in Linux podcast when you do so. So, just to be clear, just to reiterate, if you use the links in the descriptions, which I very much appreciate if you do, there'll be a small commission, an affiliate commission sent to us, the Tux Digital channel, and This Week in Linux to make sure we can keep making this show for you. So be sure to do that if you decide to purchase this book bundle anyway. So yeah, link in the show notes. Up next in the show is some more unfortunate news, though not really surprising. Well, there was an interview on ZDNet with the kernel maintainer, the stable kernel maintainer, Greg Kroah-Hartman, or Greg KH. And this is discussing the security Intel chip problems that have been happening since like the Meltdown and Spectre and that kind of thing. And so the problem with how Intel designs speculative execution is that while anticipating the next action for the CPU to take, that does speed things up, but it also exposes data along the way, which is bad enough on your own server, but it also has breakdowns and it breaks barriers between virtual machines and cloud computing environments and that kind of stuff, so it's sort of a security nightmare. And Greg Kroah-Hartman said that these problems are going to be with us for a very long time. They're not going away. They're all CPU bugs, and in some ways, they're all the same problem. But each has to be solved in its own way. MDS, RDDL, Fallout, Zombieland, they're all variants of the same basic problem. So really, there's only one option right now. It doesn't really solve everything, but it does solve a significant amount, and that is to turn Intel's simultaneous multithreading, or SMT system off and deal with the performance hit. It only in some cases it's a small performance, like it only takes like 2% performance, and sometimes like email, and in other cases it takes up to 20% performance hit, and in other cases even more, depending on what it is what you're doing. But the bad part of this is that you won't really have much of a choice other than either take a performance hit and have security, turn it off and not have security. And Greg Kroah-Hartman says, yeah, performance or security, and that's not a good option to choose from, which I agree completely, because this is unfortunate, but it's not surprising because these issues keep coming out over and over. Like when the Spectre and Meltdown announcement happened, and we talked about it on this show, there were these huge problems, but they weren't the only times that these came out. Like it wasn't Meltdown and Spectre came out and then we gotta fix them. They just keep coming out more and more and more. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's at least another one or two in the next year or so. just coming out like, hey, we have a new version of this problem. I wouldn't be surprised by that. But and as far as Intel, they're having some issues. They're having stagnant issues. They're having issues with the security and all this other stuff. So, Team Red, AMD, check that out. It's probably worth checking out. I actually recently went to AMD, and I have been very happy with it, especially with the fact that I have an AMD GPU as well now, and I don't have to worry about drivers installing. It's just there. Like, that's awesome. But anyway, that's a completely digress situation, so I don't want to go off on a tangent. AMD's not really hit by all these different problems. Some of the problems, for sure, like Spectre, it is hit by that because every CPU is hit by that, but not all the stuff. So it might be worth checking out if you're interested. You can have a little bit of performance improvement without having to worry about all the mitigation issues. Yeah, is that a commercial for AMD? I guess kind of. I don't have an affiliate link for that one though, unless you buy it on Amazon. If you bought it on Amazon, you can use an Amazon link that's at tuxedo.com/affiliates, and there you go. So I guess kind of a do. Up next in the show this week, actually finally this week, is the Linux gaming news, and that is Valve has released a new version of the Steam library for their Steam client, as well as a new remote play together feature. So if you logged into Steam lately, you may have noticed that there was a big overhaul for the look and feel of the library system, and it's really cool. It looks really nice. It has like a new nice game poster banner layout for like the library, as well as it just improves the overall sorting system. Like they've actually made it possible to sort games into dynamic collections, customizable homepage, new event system, better looking layout and search abilities, and many, many more. But the coolest feature has to be the new remote play together system. Now, this is in beta, but still pretty cool. And this is a ability to invite your friends on Steam to play a local co-op game with you. Now, this could be local co-op, local multiplayer, split screen, or whatever. And it's just a game that is a local game that you can then stream to your friend remotely to play with you. That is an awesome feature. This is awesome. It allows up to 4 players to instantly join in whatever game you're playing. And even cooler is that you don't even need to have everybody owning the game. You just need one person who owns the game and has it installed, and then they can have additional players that connect through the Steam remote play, and they do like a little streaming thing where they send the visuals and the input data back and forth really quickly to facilitate this feature. So this is really awesome because you don't even need to, only one person needs to own the game in order to play the game with multiple people. And it allows you to play games that don't have online co-op or online multiplayer. And that's weird because games don't do that, but I understand because it's a lot of effort to get that to happen. And now Steam is solving the problem for you. So this is really awesome. There's quite a few games that I wanted to play, but I never did because I wanted to play co-op and they didn't have the online co-op option. So I was like, meh, whatever. But now I can get those games and play them through this remote play together system. And that is really awesome. And also, we might even try it for the DLN gaming night that we're going to do this month. Actually, we're doing that the end of this week on Saturday, November 11th, if you want to check that out. Also, if you want to learn more about this particular thing, check out the housekeeping section of this episode to learn more, because I go more in detail there. So, yeah. So anyway, if you want to check out, I have a link to the Gaming on Linux article about this topic in the show notes below. Thanks for watching this episode of This Week in Linux. If you like what I do here on this show, please like that smash button and be sure to subscribe. And also be sure to ring that bell for notifications. If you'd like to support the Tux Digital channel, we have multiple ways to contribute via PayPal, Patreon, sponsors, and many others. You can learn more by going to tuxdigital.com/contribute. Or you can order the Linux is Everywhere t-shirt by going to tuxdigital.com/Linux is Everywhere. Or if you're in Europe, you can go to tuxdigital.com/Linux is Everywhere EU for shipping inside of Europe. We also have ways to contribute without any cost to you by using our affiliate links. You can find links for places like Amazon, Private Internet Access VPN, Humble Bundle, and many more by going to tuxdigital.com/affiliates. And if you'd like some more podcasting goodness from me, then check out the latest episode of Destination Linux, as I'm a co-host of that show. And also be sure to check out episode 145 and 146, because 145 has actually 144 as well. So if you haven't checked out Destination Linux, you need to do so and check out all of those for sure, because the latest episodes we had have just been stacked. So 144 had the guest host with Wendell from Level 1 Techs. 145 had an interview with Lucas Erezinski from Pine 64. And we also had in 146 two guest hosts with Bo Weaver, who's a pen testing and hacker, and also Dolphin Oracle from MX Linux. We talk about MX Linux 19 and all kinds of stuff. So be sure to check those out by going to destinationlinux.org. And thanks again for watching. I'm Michael Tunnell with Tux Digital and the Destination Linux Network. And as always, keep using, learning, and enjoying Linux.